I don't want to have to do this, but I think the wintertime staples are really the only way to go. And I really think a fast moving lure can catch them, but maybe not. The drop shot is boring, but it catches a dang bass. No way, no way. Second cast with the drop shot, second cast. Oh my goodness. Well, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to 200 Ponds. I'm your host. My name is Tyler, and I am sick and tired of winter bass fishing. Because I don't know about y'all, but I feel like this winter has been even more tough than usual just to get a dang bite. Not even a whole bunch of fish, just catch anything. And I know in this series that success is quantified as just catching one solitary bass, but that alone has been hard for me lately. Even in all the ponds I have around the house that have bass in them, they don't seem to bite. So the goal, as always, catch one bass, but today, just get a dang bite, a solitary single fish, please. Now, luckily, the weather today is absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna have a video coming out soon on the channel where I talk about whether or not I actually like having good, fair weather in the wintertime, whether bass bite better during that or the nasty cold days. We're gonna talk about it, but enough yapping, let's get down to pond number 110. Oh no. That was pretty light. I closed my rod in the door, but it was a really light close. So if this thing breaks later, that's why, but I hope it doesn't. Now, because today is simply Operation Get a Dang Bite, I'm gonna go back to my roots and throw the old-fashioned pond stuff, the wacky worms, the drop shots, the vibrating jigs. I know that y'all don't wanna see a chatterbait in every pond, but it works. And even in the wintertime, it does work in most ponds around the country. As long as your water is not frozen, they can still bite a vibrating jig. Now today, like I said, we have fantastic weather conditions, just a little bit of wind, partly cloudy, and the water in this pond is pretty dang clear. And it looks like we have a mixture of rocks in the water, as well as your standard neighborhood pond stuff, just kind of some sandy, muddy bottom with what may be real vegetation and a real Skittles wrapper, sour Skittles, which means the bass have tasted the rainbow. Hopefully my lures taste as good as the rainbow. And y'all liked this last time when I gave the water conditions with my funny vocabulary. And yes, once again, it is chilly willy. Now, as usual, I'm not totally prepared, so I got to get out my tackle bag here and rig up maybe just one different rod for today. I've already got a prototype jig and a drop shot on these two rods. I'm gonna put a vibrating jig on this one, the old 3/8 ounce tungsten thunder cricket. And I don't know what the forage base is in this pond, but I'm assuming it's bluegill, so I'm gonna go with a green pumpkin. And the reason I go 3/8 in the majority of ponds that I fish, both in this series and just on the channel in general, is because most ponds are shallow. And so a 1/2 ounce vibrating jig is just a little bit too heavy. You cannot retrieve it as slow as I think most people should be fishing a thunder cricket. Honestly, wish they made a 1/4 ounce, but Z-Man, who they licensed the technology from for this thing, won't let us, so boo. As usual, mid-size Rage Bug, the best dang vibe jig trailer out there. Rig that sucker vertical, and we are good to go. And I'm gonna leave my rods in the truck along with my tackle bag just for now. Because if they're gonna bite a vibrating jig, I don't want any other distractions as I'm doing one quick lap around the pond. And if I get a few bites in this thing, I can know where some fish potentially are to be caught, come back with slower, more methodical lures, and catch them. So let's get to fishing. First cast, see how deep it is out there. 1, 2, 3. All right, it fell for 3 seconds. This thing falls a little more than 1 foot per second. So it was about 3 to 4 feet out there. Let's see all the way out there in the middle.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
About 4 to 5 feet out there. This is shaping up to be a very classic neighborhood pond. I was doing lots of Google Earth research recently into Southern California lakes because y'all have asked me to make a trip out there. So if you have any good ones for this pond series, send me an email, tylersrealfishing@gmail.com. But when I was looking at the ponds, a lot of them looked like this. Now, not usually with this suburban of a neighborhood necessarily, a little more city-based, but kind of had standard flat banks with clear water. But one thing I hear from y'all is that your fisheries are incredibly pressured, so probably couldn't just show up and sling around a thunder cricket and catch them. Now, one thing I usually can't see in the wintertime is how bass are reacting to the forage in their body of water. So like let's say it's springtime, I can walk and see bass chasing bluegill or getting them off their nests, and in the post spawn, get here in the morning, they're hitting you know, shad on the surface. I can't do that in the winter, so I rely a ton on the app that y'all know I'm a co-owner of, and that is Bass Forecast. Bass Forecast is an awesome mobile app that allows me to understand how the fish should be behaving on my body of water based on past, present, and future weather data. We're the only app that can actually predict in the future how the fish should be behaving. And as you can see here, it is a 3.0 today. The fish are in a winter pattern, and those are the top recommended lures. I'm gonna go with none for the cover because we don't actually have any cover in this body of water. Is a vibrating jig on the list? No. I'm kind of forcing it, but I think they're gonna eat it. If not, I'll just go to the drop shot or the Ned rig. There is a location recommendation though of drop-offs and ledges. For sure, if I find one of those in this pond, it should hold a few bass. What I'm really interested in is the next few days here. We have a warming trend with some warm rain, and then it goes from, I believe, Friday to 5.2 is still winter. But if I go to Saturday, that warm front has gotten these fish in a pre-spawn mood, which changes the baits a little bit to be a little more spring-oriented. I'm a huge believer in the Bass Forecast algorithm because I helped build it. And if you value understanding how your fish are reacting on a certain day based on the weather, and you want to plan your fishing days, there's no better app for it. So I will leave the link y'all can use down in the video description. There's a Tackle Warehouse gift card associated with the premium subscription, and so it makes it a really, really good value, especially if you use it all year long. So again, I'll have it linked below. I'm gonna keep walking, try to find myself a bass. I'm probably reeling too fast because the weather's so nice. I just wanna, you know, hop and skip around. Oh, a dabbling duck. That dude is slick. I gotta ask Taylor what kind of duck that is. I've also gotta get my rod tip up because I'm hitting the bottom. And I don't really think they're gonna be in this little offshoot that y'all saw off this pond. Seems more like a springtime spot, but maybe the channel in the middle is deep enough. Maybe they're in the culvert. And I guess if I had taken my drone shot before I started fishing, I could have told myself that this pocket is not worth fishing. It's way too shallow. It's so shallow, we have stinking scum forming in the wintertime. Ooh, there is a ledge here. Very interesting. Polarized sunglasses helped me see this little rock drop off. Maybe this whole side of the pond here is gonna be steeper. I'm gonna back up. That's definitely an interesting feature that I didn't know was here. I guess they had to blast some holes here to create this pond. And we have actual rock formations here on the edge. Not a deep enough ledge, but cool nonetheless. Usually in ponds like this where there's no apparent shoreline structure, at least it's deep enough for them to sit on in the wintertime, and there's no brush piles or rock piles. I guess fountains would be the only offshore thing they have. They usually stack somewhere out here on a contour line change that, especially at a first time fishing the pond, you have no idea where that location is. So that's the struggle I'm trying to overcome right now, is where are these fish stacked a little bit farther off the bank. And I really think a fast moving lure can catch them, but maybe not. Gosh, this Mach Smash can sling a bait. Well, man, I don't think it's gonna happen, at least with the speed of this lure's retrieve. I'll make one more cast here, and then we're gonna call it a day with the vibe jig, lock the drop shot in our hand. I don't want to have to do this, but I think the wintertime staples are really the only way to go. The drop shot is boring, but it catches a dang bass, and that is not boring. This is one of the techniques Bass Forecast recommended anyways for today's conditions, so probably should have listened to it from the jump, but I had to try something fun. I know it does work sometimes in the winter. No way, no way. Second cast with the drop shot, second cast. Oh my goodness. Get in here, you butterball. I was walking down the bank, kind of daydreaming, and I felt a little tick. Get in here, yes sir. Oh my goodness, what a chunk. He's caught himself a tiny little mouth in a beautiful wintertime build. Oh my gosh, y'all. I gotta show you what's in his gullet. This bass has recently eaten someone's finesse worm. It looks like a methylate color. That's the color that it's turned into, and it's, oh, that was nasty. It was like pulling a, you know, when you get a piece of spaghetti stuck in your throat and you're gagging on it and you have to, like, you know, thread it out like a piece of string. That's what just happened there. But hey buddy, I saved you from becoming a Cinco bass. And it's kind of funny, obviously he is a worm preference bass because couldn't catch him, even though I just fished this area with the vibe jig. And I think he likes worms. I'm gonna get a quick Snapchat photo. That's where I'm posting all my behind the scenes stuff now. Some still on Instagram, but if you have a Snapchat and you're not following me at Tyler's Real Fish, you're missing out. Well, thank you so much, my friend. Oh, well, the water's that way, thank you. Success, success. We have upon success, and it only took 2 dang casts, baby. I am not ever fishing winter ponds without a drop shot ever again. If you ever catch me leaving one of these episodes without trying a drop shot, shame on me. All right, that feels good. And I think that bite came right off that secondary drop. So the first drop here from the bank out to about 2 foot, and then I'd say 20 yards out, it drops another foot. Kind of what most standard neighborhood ponds have, at least as far as topography goes. And as always, make casts back to the exact area that you catch a fish, because they could be grouped up. Who knows if they will be today, but always got to try. And obviously, just like I mentioned, I should have listened to Bass Forecast the first time, because slow moving techniques, slow retrieve, and slow types of lures are what it told me to do. I should have listened. And once it gets to about, 15 feet from the shore, I can just burn it in and make another cast. Really just the beginning of my cast to the first 2/3 is effective water in the wintertime, and then I can get it in and make another one. And if the water's cold, there's no need for you guys to be working your baits all the way in, unless the water's dirty and you can't see how deep it is. But if a bass is anywhere out to like right there, I can see it. So if there's no bass near my lure, I'm reeling it in. Now, as far as the retrieve goes for a drop shot in the winter, I've talked about this in some videos, but it really is almost nothing. I'm not hopping it like this, like I do with a Texas rig or a jig in the spring or summer. I am getting my tension out and I'm shaking like this. I mean, the rod tip's moving maybe 3 to 6 inches max, and then pause, let it sink, give it a hop, and then kind of shake, 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 shake. It is just so subtle. If these bass are not gonna eat a slow moving thing, give them the opposite. Oh, that's one. Oh, he dropped it. I was waiting to feel a bigger tug, and he pulled it about 2 inches and dropped it. Come on. Shake, 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 come back for it. 99% of the time, if you give them more time, they'll eat it better and you'll get a better hookup ratio. But sometimes, man, I wonder, should I have just swung on that fish? Because he obviously had part of it in his mouth. It's amazing how much stuff I'm feeling down there on the bottom though. Like every single time I get to that ledge, I go from mud feel, mud feel, mud feel, rocks, 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 rocks. And so if you really want to understand what their body of water is like that you're fishing, what's down there, throw something that really has a good feel to it. So a tungsten jig, tungsten drop shot weight. Let that thing get to the bottom and just slowly drag it. And after a while, you'll start to understand what certain bottom compositions feel like, and that can for sure influence in a positive way your lure selection based on certain times of the year. So if it's spawn time, you want to fish the areas, even if you can't see them, they're off the bank, that are harder bottom, because bass love being around that stuff. If you're pulling and all of a sudden your bait falls, oh, there's a hole out there, that's good to know. You wouldn't know that by just throwing crankbaits and vibrating jigs and spinnerbaits all the time. So not only is fishing finesse, slow, and on the bottom productive in the wintertime, it also allows you, if you pay attention, to better understand your bodies of water. I wonder how realistic it would be to put live scope on like a bank fishing setup with a pole that sticks out there. Because say what you want about live scope, but at least if I'm cold and I'm just standing here fishing slow, I can at least watch my lure fall to the bottom. So I'm not obligated to have to watch all these boring, nature things like birds and trees. I'm gonna take a seat. Oh yeah, baby, this right here, this is the way to drop shot. Sitting on the park bench. All I need is a ice cold Gatorade, a bag of just the brown parts of the Gorditos bunch. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, this is nice. Oh, no way. Yes. I got one on the little drop off. Let's go. Even though we were back in a shallower pocket, we had a deeper area and a fish was sitting on a rock drop off. Man, Bass Forecast is absolutely lining up today with what's going on. If you have not downloaded it and at least tried the free version, you're missing out, man. Because I truly don't think I would have made another cast, at least a few targeted ones, at this area if it had not reminded me that drop-offs are something I need to focus on today. I'm gonna cast out there again. I felt a little rock spine coming out from the bank probably going towards that culvert, honestly. I just cannot stress how important it is to understand the contours of your pond. I feel like I talk about it in every video. Once spring hits, and what is she doing? She was absolutely booking it inside to grab her rod because obviously they're biting. But back to what I was saying, just start to understand your contours and you're gonna catch more fish.
Go for 2 with Wingdit's Tailgate Feast.
20 dozen wings, 5 everything.
All right, guys, I'm getting cold. I think I need to make a few more casts from this side over here, get myself a nice hot coffee, and take my success, although very limited, to the bank. Well, any day that I can trick the bass more than they have tricked me is a success, and today was. It was a boring success, but we conquered the pond nonetheless. And that's the whole goal of this series, to as often as I can show the realism that all of us as anglers face. Some days are fantastic, some days are horrible, and a lot of them are like this, just somewhere in between, but at least we're still fishing. My hope, as always, is threefold: that you enjoyed yourself, you had a good time, you learned something, and you want to come back next time. So if you do, I would love to have you. The 200 pond series is for everybody, and all my tackle, as always, is linked down in the video description. So if you want to support the TRF channel using those links to shop for your tackle, rods and reels, whatever you want, regardless of brand or stuff you want to buy, would be much appreciated. Now, if y'all want to watch my last 200 ponds episode, whammy, I'll have it up here in the corner, as well as my entire 100 pond series, the first 100 I fished, over here in this corner. They are both clickable links. My name's Tyler. I'll see y'all next time right here on 200 ponds.